You might be familiar with those extreme vegans who put out a general message of animal rights and expect everyone to be capable of reaching the same moral standard irrespective of their background. Absurd behavior, I know, but fear not. Now there are woke vegans who hold different groups to different moral standards, right? They think that some groups are incapable of reaching the moral standard that everyone else is capable of reaching. And for these groups, it is okay to consume meat, even though it's not okay for everyone else. I used to call this the soft bigotry of low expectations. But after listening to these woke vegans, I've changed my mind. I've changed my ways, right? I know better now, right? So let me give you a few examples of these woke vegans, and let me give you examples of people from my own country, sort of, right? But before I do that, let me explain something to you. Let me explain a concept to you which will be essential for understanding what they are talking about. It's called Brahminism. So Brahminism is this ideology that divides society into a hierarchy of castes and assigns moral value and moral worth on the basis of your position in that caste system, right? And it puts Brahmins at the top of that caste system. Thus it's called Brahminism, and then it exploits against the lower, and especially the lowest caste. The lowest caste is called Dalits. Okay. India also had these sovereign tribes, sort of, right? And they were too hurt significantly by Brahminism. They were hurt pretty much to the same extent as the Dalits were, right? And I am the descendant of one such tribe in northeastern India. Note that northeastern India is in itself like a marginalized part of India, right? So I'm a descendant of an indigenous tribe within a marginalized section of India. So yeah, make of that what you will. That's just information about me. Okay, with that cleared up, let me give you the first example of woke vegans, right? So this person is called Ramavgan on Instagram. She writes, "Black folks in the US going vegan cannot be extended to DBA folks. They're similar but not the same." Oh, by the way, DBA is like the collective term for marginalized groups in India in the context of Brahminism. So yeah, but anyway, just look at this first line, right? You can already see how woke she is, right? She has already figured out that two groups who originate from like literally thousands of kilometers apart, and atrocities against whom were committed literally on the opposite parts of the world, right? She has already figured out that these two groups are not exactly the same. You can already see how woke this person is. The wokeness is just dripping out. And then she goes on to write about black people's culture. You can read that. I'll skip over it. But DBA are different, right? Brahminism has restricted them access to food, kept them hungry, and always laboring. Case in point, the freaking beef ban. For DBA, decolonizing from oppressive Brahminism means free access to high-calorie foods, especially meat. This is so true, right? You know, as the descendant of an indigenous tribe in northeastern India, I have every right to consume the meat of any animal that I want to consume, right? And that includes human beings, right? Because there is no morally relevant difference between humans and non-human animals. I mean, sure, there are differences, right? But what is the morally relevant difference? There is none. I mean, I could go the other way and say that, you know, since there is no morally relevant difference, that it's immoral to also harm other animals, right? But why would I do that? Like I could do that and I could keep eating plants as I did for like almost 5 years and get enough calories, sufficient nutrition, and so on. But why would I do that, right? Like, why would I cause less suffering when I have the option to cause more suffering? It doesn't make sense. Remember, the baseline of ethics, right, is to cause as much unnecessary suffering as you possibly can. And as a consequence, I, the descendant of an indigenous tribe in northeastern India, I have the right to consume human beings, right? To kill and exploit and consume human beings. If you disagree, right, and if you're if you're non-northeastern or you're non-tribal, even if you're Dalit, right, if you're like neither of these things, or you're non-tribal, non-northeastern, right, and you think I don't have the right to eat other humans, check your privilege, you privileged jerk. And look, if you are a northeastern tribal person and you don't eat human beings, look, I respect your choice, right? I respect your choice to not eat human beings, but you can't force your choices on me, right? I have the right to consume high-calorie foods, especially meat, and that can be from any animal I want to, and human beings are animals. I know what you're thinking. Northeastern people, tribal or non-tribal, don't have a tradition of eating human meat, right? But yeah, that's true, right? But that's not the point. The point is that I have the right to high-calorie foods, right? Especially meat. And it doesn't specify here or it provides any good reason here why that cannot include human meat, right? I mean, like, culture, it cannot be the restriction on what we do, right? Like, these are super woke people. They understand, rather they know that culture cannot be a restriction on what we do, right? Like, lots of things that were culturally restricted years ago are allowed now, right? Even progressive, like normal progressive and liberals understand these, and these are like hyper woke people. So yeah, I have the right to consume human meat. And if you disagree and you're non-northeastern, non-tribal, did I say that already? Okay, so the next sort of woke vegan that I'd like to introduce you to is someone called Misandrist 101 on Instagram, and like, this is her comment. It's a long comment, so I'll just read out parts of it which I think are key points, but you can read those parts in context within the full comment, right? So like, this person makes the point that it is just unfair and insincere to try and wipe off the veganism equal to Brahminism equation in people's heads when the vegan movement in India is primarily rooted in Brahminical principles. You see, this right here, this is so true, right? See, Brahminism, as I already explained earlier, but I'll go over it again, it divides society into a hierarchy of castes and assigns different moral worth on the basis of your position in that caste system, right? Veganism, which is like the mode of the animal rights movement, it seeks to provide equal moral consideration to all sentient beings, right? Humans or non-human animals, right? Can't you see that these are the exact same thing? Can't you see it? If you can't see it, then that's your problem, right? Do the work, educate yourself, and check your privilege. And then this person goes on to make another wonderful point, right? This person goes on to write that it is our job to fix our movement instead of putting the burden of acceptance on DBA non-vegans, who, by the way, owe us nothing at this point. Such a wonderful point. Such a wonderful point. You see, most of these non-human being eaters, right? They are morally wrong on some issue or the other, right? Even the most progressive ones, they sort of keep saying we're unlearning and relearning, right? So like, before you finish unlearning and relearning, how can you expect me to accept your movement of non-human eating, right? Me, a descendant of an indigenous northeastern tribe, how can you put that burden of acceptance on me, right? It's not like I have some kind of moral agency of my own, right? You have to address the issues in your movement first, right? Before you can expect me to accept your movement and like stop eating human beings, like stop killing and exploiting and torturing and eating human beings. I won't stop that until you address the issues in your own movement of non-human eating, right? Like, address those issues. This person just can't stop making good points. They write next that the fact that for DBA folks, veganism comes with huge economic and political costs, and that food access is entirely rooted in privilege. See, this is just so true. Like, when I was vegan, it costed me like relatively so much less money for me to buy food than I was having to spend when I was like eating non-vegan food, right, eating animal products. And that is like a privilege. Wait a minute. Okay, never mind that, you privileged jerk. Don't laugh at me, right? Listen, this person makes the excellent point next, right, about supplements and substitutes and food substitutes, right? And that's an excellent point. Right? Like you see, when I was vegan, right, I had to buy these vitamin B12 substitutes, which costed me like ₹1 a day, which is like, I mean, it's cheap, but it's not like that. The cost of that, I mean, it's still some money, right? And it's not like the cost was made up for by the amount of money I saved by not eating animal products, or like, was it? Scratch that. Okay. Don't laugh at me, right? There's still the point about the substitutes left, right? The substitute that you vegans keep eating. See, like when I was vegan, right, I was eating these foods, right, and these dishes that, like I'll put them on the screen, right, as I'm talking. These foods, which you can see, right, it's not as if they're like naturally occurring cheap foods, right? They're just completely made up of substitutes. As you can see, you can pretty much see the McDonald's logo on the food. Oh wait, none of these foods are include any meat substitutes or anything. Okay, that's a bit problematic. Okay, listen, you privileged jerks. Don't gaslight me because I cannot prove what I'm saying, right? Don't do that, right? You have to believe what I'm saying, even though I cannot prove what I'm saying. Okay, so I was just editing this and I had almost forgot to praise a wonderful point that this person makes in their comment, and it is that meat has this role in resisting authority and oppression, right? And it's just very difficult to understate how much of a brilliant point that is, right? Because as everybody knows, right, like the best way, and in fact the only way to resist authority and oppression, right, is by practicing authority and oppression over those who are weaker than us. Name a better way to resist oppression and authority other than, practicing authority and oppression over those who are weaker than us. Name one. This is a challenge. And the final point sort of that this person makes in their entire comment, that's just golden, right? It's just like the peak wokeness, right? It's as woke as you can sort of get, right? They kind of define that they tell you about how the vegan movement is in India based on their sort of anecdotal experiences, right? Remember, that is how this is done, right? That is the correct way of analyzing the nature of a justice movement. It is to be judged on the basis of the anecdotal experiences of one random person, right? No, like what do you mean? Like if someone has different experience, you have to pick the one that fits my narrative. You can't pick something else. You can't use empirical data. Like do you have that? If you don't have, you have to use the experiences that sort of fit my narrative. Okay, you have to do that. And if you won't do that, and if you're non-Northeastern, non-tribal, if you're non-Northeastern, non-tribal, and you disagree with that, you have to check your privilege. Wait a minute, did I say that? Never mind. So I've been like Soy Theist. You can follow me on social media here. If you sort of like this video and you want to support my right to eating human meat, you can you can support me on Patreon, right? And if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, tell me what you think of this entire discussion we had, and if you support my right to eat human beings. And I will sort of see you in the next video. Goodbye for now, and remember to check your privilege.